Hey guys, so a couple things. I'm trying out a new animation software, which is why this video might be a little different than my past videos, but bear with me while I try to make this work. Also, let me know if you like it in the comments. So this video is just going to be an update on a few books that I have recently read and what my thoughts on them are. In the past couple of weeks, I have read 3 books. Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, Seige and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, and Alanna the First Adventure by Tamora Pierce. Let's start with my least favorite book, Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. This book, from what I could gather, is loved by a lot of people, and while it has some good points, I just did not like it. So I'll explain why I gave this book 2.5 stars. It's certainly worth a read if you want to give it a try. Quick side note, the cover for this book glows in the dark, which is super cool. But what isn't cool is that I found out about that when I turned off the lights in my room to go to bed and was terrified by a green glowing book on my nightstand. Anyways, Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore follows Clay Jannon, a man who was hit hard by the recession and subsequently started working at the titular Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. He soon discovers that this bookstore is not what it seems to be and that there's some sort of secret that it holds. So based off of the summary, I definitely wanted to read this book. The summary itself kind of gave me Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes when they go into that one library that contains all of the knowledge in the world or whatever. It was also recommended to me by one of my 2 friends that still reads, so I had to read it. But the idea of a bookstore holding a secret, a strange and mysterious bookstore owner with even stranger clientele, and a story that takes place in the modern world had me intrigued. And I was ready to read an adventure that I assumed was going to be like National Treasure, which is a compliment coming from someone who unironically loves National Treasure. Don't judge me. But I just couldn't seem to like any of the characters. For example, Clay has a love interest in this book named Kat, and she's a genius who works at Google, which plays a huge part in this book, but more on that later. And I was all for reading about a smart woman helping Clay solve a mystery, but she came off more like a manic pixie dream girl. She always wears the same shirt, which she owns like 20 pairs of, apparently. And whenever she would talk to a guy, and I do mean any guy, including her own colleagues, Clay would get jealous. Like, she works at Google, dude. She's gonna have male coworkers. Chill. She's also obsessed with finding a way for humanity to live forever, which I just couldn't relate to, mainly because I've read enough sci-fi books and seen enough TV shows to know that that is not a good idea. But also, when I say obsessed, I mean obsessed. Like, she talks about it in every other conversation that she has in the book, and it worried me. You know who does have a healthy obsession, though? Nick Cage in National Treasure. Kat is also conventionally attractive, and conveniently into the main character of this book, which also adds to the whole manic pixie dream girl trope. Also, I didn't like Clay either. Not only was he super jealous of Kat talking with anyone, but I just didn't get emotionally attached to him. Granted, the book is short, but Clay did not really have any personality traits that I could relate to. Neither was his friend Neil, who came off a bit creepy to me, honestly. You know who's not creepy and is a wholesome friend? Riley in National Treasure. The character of Mr. Penumbra was cool, I guess. Anyways, my whole gripe with the book is that it's supposed to be this whole mystery, where the answer or solution they're looking for is supposed to be this grand reveal. And there's this opposing force or group that is trying to stop the good guys from finding the solution, which is, you know, how a good adventure should be. But I didn't understand why the opposing group in this book wanted to stop Clay and his friend group. Without giving you any major spoilers, there wasn't any money involved in solving the big mystery and finding the supposed solution. There's not really anything at stake, no one's lives are in danger, and there's no imminent threat. Additionally, the bad guys weren't so much bad guys because they were part of the same organization that the good guys are a part of. So why were the bad guys in this book trying to stop the good guys from solving the mystery when they too were looking for the answer as well? There's a scene in the book where Clay and his friends need a resource that the bad guys have, and I remind you, the bad guys and the good guys have a common goal. But anyways, they need this resource to solve the mystery, and it's not a consumable resource, so they could just return it after they use it to solve the mystery. That, I remind you, yet again, the bad guys want to solve as well. And yet the bad guys refuse to let them borrow it. So I had to read this long and complicated plan to break into the bad guys' headquarters to use the resource. Also, the solution to this mystery isn't unshareable or anything. It isn't like money where there's a finite amount in the solution, so I didn't understand why they were so reluctant to work together or why the bad guys were so reluctant to finally find the answer to this mystery. Fair warning, in general, the answer to the mystery at the end was underwhelming, unlike the ending to National Treasure. I will say that this book would be a great Wes Anderson adaptation. Like, I could very easily see the characters in this book in one of his movies, and I think that they would be more charming that way. The writing was okay, it wasn't super engaging, and the characters were aight, but there was a ton of discourse on technology in this book, which I actually loved. Hence the 0.5 and the 2.5 star review. Google is mentioned a lot in this book, and there's a lot of discourse on technology and coding in general. And as a human who has a background in coding, and not in any way a member of an advanced alien race disguised as a human to learn more about the Homo sapiens species, I really enjoyed reading about that. Anyways, I guess what I'm trying to say is, National Treasure is a great movie, and everyone should watch it immediately. Okay, On to Seige and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. I rated this book 3.5 stars, and I actually really liked it, but don't get me wrong, it had some flaws. Seige and Storm is the second book in the Grishaverse trilogy, and it follows Alanna Starkov, who finds out back in book 1, Shadow and Bone, that she's actually a Grisha and has magical powers. Grisha are people in this universe that have powers such as controlling other people's hearts, airbending, and building/creating stuff. Alanna is different though, as most YA female characters are, and her power is that she can get rid of evil creatures that come from this one area of the land called the Fold, or the Unsea. In this book, we see Alanna and Mal, who barely got away from the bad guy in the first book, called the Darkling, try to survive, before getting captured like 2 chapters in by the Darkling again. There's also an introduction to another love interest for Alanna in this book, and his name is Nikolai Lantsov. I won't spoil you with what happens in the book, however, if you're watching this video, my guess is that you've already heard this book and have already read it. Anyways, I really felt for Alanna in this book. I didn't really like her in the first book, mainly because it seemed like everything she thought about revolved around Mal, who was her best friend and love interest at the start of the book, and she didn't really have any hobbies that she was pursuing or any interests or goals. To be fair, they are in the middle of a war. But that doesn't mean that she isn't allowed to want things. It just happens to be that the only thing she wants is a guy that isn't even into her in the beginning of the book until the Darkling takes her away, which is when Mal realizes, I kind of want to be with her. And I'm just not a fan of guys that only like girls when another guy shows interest in her. Also, the Darkling is literally a murderer who has committed genocide. Like, why is Alanna even attracted to him? This shouldn't be a conversation that we're having. Going back to Mal, he literally hates Alanna's powers, which is kind of shown in the first book, but it's definitely solidified in this book, and she still loves him anyways, even though he blatantly hates her powers, which are a part of her. Anyways, while Alanna, Mal, and the Darkling are definitely not my faves, Nikolai was very entertaining. I finished this book because the scenes gave me the energy to do so. Does he have his own agenda? Yes. But is he also a good friend to Alanna who doesn't get super jealous and likes her and her powers? Also yes. And as a human, and totally not actually 3 rogue dwarves stacked on top of each other in a trench coat, I have a soft spot for the friends to lovers trope. The book overall I thought was very readable. I like Leigh Bardugo's writing style. I'm just not a fan of the love interests. Literally, Mal and Alanna have a fight because he says that she isn't spending a lot of time with him, and bruh. She's the only chance the country has got against the Darkling. She's a little busy training and organizing an army. Sorry she's not being super clingy right now. I kind of predicted the ending to this book near the middle of it, but it's still a good ending, and I'm looking forward to the conclusion. I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen in the last book, but I predict that Mal finds out that he has powers, because it's been commented that he's an unusually good tracker a couple times now. Alanna will make every single one of her decisions based on Mal and what he would want. Nikolai will continue to have the best one-liners and dialogue in general, and the Darkling is still going to be considered to be a love interest, even though he has actually murdered hundreds of people and tortured Alanna's friends. Well, at least Ben Barnes is playing the Darkling in the Netflix adaptation, which I'm not complaining about. The last book I read is Alanna the First Adventure by Tamora Pierce. This is the first book in a series, and it was recommended to me by, again, one of my 2 only friends that reads. Alanna the First Adventure is about a girl, young Alanna, who wants to become a female knight. Her brother, Thumb, wants to become a sorcerer. However, their dad wants them to have each other's desired future. Since they are twins, Alanna decides that they should switch places, and we get to follow Alanna as she goes through her training to become a knight. This book was awesome. First off, you have to consider the fact that this book was published in the 80s, and it still featured a female character that wanted to be a knight. The world itself already has female knights, but most of them are, from what I can tell, religious knights that protect temples of female deities and such. But Alanna wants to be a knight for the king. I will say this book has literally no other female character other than Alanna, which I understand because she goes to an all-boys night school, and honestly, reading about her adventures were enough for me. I would rate this book 4 stars. Alanna is great. She's everything I want a female main character to be, and wish I read about when I was younger. This book is definitely for people in the middle school or high school phase maybe in their life, but it was still a great read. Alanna is brave, funny, loyal, a great friend, cunning, and most importantly, fails a lot. But she picks herself up, trains in secret so no one can see her progress, and has amazing rematches. This book was really feministic and progressive for something written in the 80s, and I'm here for it. As a reader of the female persuasion, and totally not the secret 4th member of the Jonas Brothers, I loved reading about a character that wasn't afraid to fail and wanted to learn from her mistakes and just continue her journey until she achieves her goals. I recommend this book if you like fantasy, awesome female characters that aren't afraid to fail, magic and sorcery, and just wholesomeness in general. Overall, I definitely like Seige and Storm and Alanna better, and will definitely continue reading on their respective series. Mainly because my one friend that recommended Alanna says that it gets better. If you like this review, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Or don't, it's a free country. Am I doing this YouTube thing right? Also, make sure to leave a comment or recommend any of your favorite books. Bye, guys!